Hello again, and welcome to a little short video for in-class lab number 8. I'm sorry, I'm a little late posting this, but we will get it posted today. In-class lab 8 deals with modules, or what Visual Logic calls procedures. And we're going to walk through this little thing today. It won't take us but a minute. I've already pulled up the instructions for in-class lab 8, so I'm going to read those. Using a method that you create, your program will take the gross pay and the total deductions from the user, so those are going to be your input, and then it will calculate the user's net pay, which is gross minus deductions. Now what you're going to do is step by step, we're going to create three variables. We're going to call one gross pay, call one deductions, and we're going to call one net pay. And then we're going to receive the input, gross pay and deductions, from the user. And make sure when you do your input, you do your user prompts. Then we're going to pass as appropriate, in other words, either by value or by reference, all three of those variables to the method or the procedure. And then we're going to calculate the user's net pay within the method, not within the main program, but within the method or the procedure. Then upon returning to the main calling program, we're going to build our output string, and then we're going to print the output string to the screen and terminate the program. We are not, if you'll notice number 7 here, we will not use any module level variables. In other words, we won't use any local variables. They will all be global variables in our main program. And then I've included 3 screenshots here for you to see the 2 input dialog boxes. And this is what your output should look like, the weekly pay report. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to open my Visual Logic. I've actually already got it open. And I'm going to see if I can split my screen here so you can see the instructions and Visual Logic at the same time. See if I can rearrange these just a little bit, make it a little easier to see. There we go. Zoom in just a little bit. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the 3 variables called gross pay, deductions, and net pay. And we're going to do that just like we've always done right here in our main calling program, just like we've done in every program we've written. So we're going to put an assignment here. We're going to let this one be gross pay. And we're going to initialize it to 0 because we always want to initialize our variables. Then we're going to do the second one, which is going to be called deductions. And we're going to initialize that to 0 also because, as I said, we always want to initialize these variables when we declare them. Then we're going to do our third one, which will be net pay. And make sure you use camel casing on the variable names, just like we've always done. We're going to initialize it to 0 also. Now, when I do my output, if you look at your sample output over here, you'll notice that there's some line feeds in here. It's not all running on on the line. So we need to create a line feed variable, just like we've done in a few other programs. What I'm going to do is go right up here, and I'm going to create a variable called CRLF. This is not a variable. Technically, this is a constant because it never changes. So we do that in all uppercase. CRLF. And we're going to initialize it. We're going to put our opening quotes, and then we're going to hit Control Enter. That will put a blank line there, and then we're going to close our quotes. Now, whenever we call this CRLF, it's going to automatically insert a blank line or move to the next line. That's why we did that. Now, in other programs, we've also created a tab. In this one, we really don't need a tab stop, so I'm not going to fool with creating a tab stop. Now, we've got that. We need to build our output string. So we need a reference, we need to declare a variable. And I'm going to call it str output. That's just going to be our output string. And I'm going to go ahead and put this title here, weekly pay report. I'm going to go ahead and put these lines, and I'm going to put ahead and put a line feed so that it moves over or moves to the next line. So weekly pay report, and I'm going to put about 4 blank spaces there just so it kind of centers things right. Put my conjugation symbol, which is the and symbol, or the ampersand. Then I'm going to move to the next line, see RLF, my conjugation symbol again, and I'm going to put just some little lines to make this report look a little better. And again, I'm going to skip over about 4 blank spaces. Close that. Then I'm going to do my ampersand, and I'm going to do another line feed. That's just going to make my report look like this. And I'm going to go ahead here and put my output. And my output will simply be the string output variable, or variable, just like that. Now, if I ran this right now, I should just get a title in that line. So I'm going to run it just to see. And I do. And see, that's exactly the way we want it to look right there. And of course, our information will be down here once we build it in our module. So now we're ready to create our module that will actually do our calculations or our procedure. And the way you create a procedure in Visual Logic is you just go over here to the white space, you can right click, and you can click Add New Procedure. This will bring up the procedure edit box. Now a procedure, this is technically, the procedure has 3 parts, or a module has 3 parts. It has the heading, it has the body, and it has the exit. What we're doing here is the heading. The heading will have the name, and it will have any arguments that would need. So we're going to name this, I didn't tell you what to name it in there, so I'm just going to call it Calculate Net Pay. And you do this exactly, you name these exactly like you would variables with the camel casing. Now the arguments, we're going to be passing the gross pay, the deductions, and the net pay all into this. So we're going to create 3 arguments here. And in reality, you could use those exact same names, but just to avoid confusion, I would put 3 new names here. So this first one I'm just going to call gross. That's going to hold our gross pay. And since we're passing, anytime you're passing something from the main to a procedure, you want to pass it by value. If you're passing it from the procedure back to the main, you would want to use reference. But for right now, we're going to use value. So that first one is going to be value. Make sure value is selected. I'm going to click OK. Then we're going to add another one, and I'm just going to call it DED for deductions. And again, since we're passing that from the main to the procedure, we're going to pass it by value. And I will show you in just a few minutes how we tell the module what these equal, or what's in here. Now we need one for the net pay, and I'm just going to simply call this net. Now the net pay, we are not passing that from the main to the procedure. The procedure is calculating the net pay, and then whatever we calculate, we're going to pass it back to the main. So for this one, we need to pass it by reference. That will allow the module to throw it back out to the main once it does the calculations. So that's going to be by reference. Click OK, and then we'll click OK again. And this, once I click OK, it should open up another little window for me to actually, there we go. This is our module window. There's the heading, the name, and all of the arguments, and then there's the exit, end of calculate net pay. All we need to do is add the body, and that's what the actual programming code will be. So we're going to click right here. We're going to do an assignment, because this is where we'll put our actual calculation. And since we named that net there, we're going to name it net here. Net is going to be gross minus DED for deductions. Very, very simple. We're using these. These are not really variables. These are temporary memory locations. Just the module. As soon as the module exits, all that will go away. That's why we didn't declare variables in here. Click OK, and we've pretty much got our module there. Now what we need to do is go back to the main program so that we can call this module or invoke this module. The way you do that again is you just right click on this white area out here, and you'll notice we've got two procedures listed here now, main and calculate net pay. Just going to click on main to go, which will carry me back to my main. And what I'm going to do is right here, right before the output, that's where I'm going to call my module or invoke my procedure. If you just click right there on that arrow, you notice down here you have an option that says call procedure. When you go there, it will drop down a list that has every procedure you've created listed. We've only created one, so it only has one listed. So I'm going to click that calculated net pay. Now we're almost finished here. There's only one thing. You notice this is the header of the procedure. It has the name, but we also need parameters in the parentheses. So let's double click on this. And this will allow us to assign, Visual Logic calls it actual values. In real life it's called parameters. So our gross is actually going to contain whatever is in gross pay. So we need to type gross pay, just like we declared that variable there. That way, whatever's in gross pay will be in there by value. You'll notice it says by value. DED, exact same way. That's going to hold whatever the user types in deductions here. So, deductions. Now the net is where the module is going to, by reference, is where the module is going to pass that net pay back to the main. Well, the main has to have somewhere to hold it, and we've declared a variable here called net pay. So that's what we're going to say is we're passing it to that net pay variable. Then I'm going to click OK. Now we've got everything should work. There's only one problem. We need to add all of this to our output string. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another assignment here. This is still in our main. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see what I'm typing. We're going to say the string output variable is equal to the string output variable, and if you look at your sample output down here, we need the words gross pay. So gross pay and the gross pay. And we need a line feed because we need to go to the next line. And we need total deductions. And our deductions. Then we need to move to the next line again. And we need our net pay. And our actual net pay. Now that should add all of that to whatever's in the string output right now. Our calculations are being done right here, and then it's passing that back to our main and adding it to this output string. Now when we run the output string, it should work. So we're going to run it. I'm going to just use these numbers as an example. I'm going to run it. Let's see what happens. Oop, there's one thing. Did you notice what I forgot? Get as input gross pay and deductions. I left out my input statements. So I need to go back up here. Right here, and I need to ask the user to input their gross pay. And make sure you do a user prompt so they know what to enter in that box that pops up. I'm just going to say enter your gross pay. And then I need them to enter their deductions or their total deductions. That's what I'm going to use as my user prompt. Now it should work. Let's try it one more time now. Enter your gross pay, and I'm going to use these numbers just to test it. 100. Enter your total deductions, 25. And there you go. It's working. And if you wanted to make this look a little bit better, you could actually format all three of these for currency. And let's go down here to, just to make it look a little better, let's go back down here to our string output. What we're going to do is, everywhere we're doing this, we're going to format it for currency. And you put that variable in parentheses, just like that. And I'm going to go over here to total deductions, do the same thing. And do the same thing for net pay. Now when I run it, it should format all three of those for currency, just to make it look a little better. I wouldn't count off if you didn't do that, but it does make it look a little bit better. When I run it now, gross pay, deductions, and there you go. Just makes it look a little bit better. And that's all there is to this one. Now the one you have to do on your own, the deliverable, very, very similar to this. The only thing is you will have 5 or 6 different modules that you will call. And one of our other instructors has created a helpful little video, and I've posted it on there, so you can use it. If I have time, I will record one too. But his is really good, and so you can look at his under the instructor videos, and it will give you some help on that deliverable project. And I'm going to go ahead and save this file, save as. And I'm going to save it to deliverables. I'm going to create a new folder called Project 8. Whoop, this is not deliverable. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Delete that. This is in class. In class. This is an in-class lab 8. So I'm going to name it lab 8. That's where I'm going to save it in that folder. And I'm going to name it in class underscore lab 8 dash Kelly Mark. That's kind of how I would like you to save things. It makes it easier for me to tell whose is whose when I download them. Save it there, and then you could upload it straight to Blackboard. And that's all there is for this little video. And I hope you guys have had a great semester. And as always, if you need any help at all, please, please, please just give me a call. Give me a call or contact me through Blackboard, either one. Okay, see you next time.